there are 6 keys to work readiness. The first one is you must manage yourself well. Okay? And when it comes to managing yourself well, it requires a good self-knowledge, that you are able to manage your time and meet deadlines, that you are setting achievable goals, and that you are being organized by developing and maintaining an effective filing system. Okay. You must also know your organizational fit. And that is where you set professional goals and you organize your environment. Now, when you guys went into the places where you were being posted initially, some of you found that you were not an organizational fit. Okay. Now, that's extremely annoying for us because we now then have to take you and see if we can't find another workplace for you. But the truth of the matter is that if you find you do not fit into the organization, now you are not the right fit for that organization, you actually cannot stay. Okay, then you need to find another workplace. I'm not just saying that now for you specifically, I mean in general. We find too many people who are just the wrong fit for the organization. And then they stay there for 10 years and they are unhappy for 10 years. And then they die prematurely of a hernia or something because the stress killed them. Okay, then rather find a job that you like so that you can do it for longer and live longer, and then pension is not a problem. You don't have to worry, you're going to have to work until you're 100 in any case. I said to you that to you guys. Okay. Then please understand what the expectations and the guidelines are. So work within company rules and regulations, work within the accounting governing body rules, adhere to local and international government laws. Then, needless to say, you must be able to communicate well. You must build relationships inside and outside the organization, and you must be a team player, which means there will be certain roles within the teams that you will have to fulfill, and that you need to be a good at conflict resolution. Okay, so these are the keys. The breakdown of the chapter, though, is a little different. So the chapter is broken down into self-management, this part here, initially. The chapter doesn't say anything again about organizational fit. This part here about understanding the expectations and working within the guidelines is really at the end of the chapter. Communicate well. The communication part is really the 3 chapters that you have done up to now. And then the building of relationships and the being a team player, that is part of the module again. Okay, so now here you have the thing we call the work environment. And in the work environment, you find yourself as an individual that is part of a team in a company and within the broader economy. That is all that little slide is showing you. So now let's go and have a look at self-management and specifically self-knowledge, that thing there that we're looking at. Okay, so here, 2 short definitions, okay? And they want hyphens between them. I refuse to make them, so you will see that they underline it. So there we see self-management. That's the section we are in, and we're first looking at self-knowledge. And here are 2 short definitions. Now, these are 2 short definitions that you can expect to find in an assignment or in a short question or somewhere. So what is self-management? Self-management is being in control of 4 things: your environment, okay, your circumstances, your relationships, and your responses. But now, please, guys, we do understand that none of us are ever in full control of any of these. These things change. but we try to keep control of them, and the degree to which we succeed in keeping control of our environment, our circumstances, our relationships, and our responses, that is the way, that's an indicator of how well we are able to manage ourselves. Now, what is self-knowledge? Self-knowledge, again, is the skill of being aware of and understanding oneself. Okay, so old René Descartes, 300 years ago, said, I think, evolve, therefore I am. A more pragmatic approach would be to say, I eat, therefore I am. But the bottom line is, we are not living in the matrix. So if you think that, you are mad. Go and see somebody. We are living on this planet in the bodies that we were given. And so we do need a sense of self-awareness, where we fit in what our space is. And we need to understand ourselves. And that is self-knowledge. Now, you will remember that when we did the induction program, I said to you, you must go onto that website and do your personality profile. I don't know who of you did it and who of you didn't do it. I hope that you did do it. If you didn't do it, it's still time to do it. Please go back to those notes and see what I told you there. Now, what are the elements of self-knowledge? Okay, 3 elements here. A healthy self-image. Okay, healthy, not thinking too highly or too little of yourself. Okay, just a healthy self-image. So you must like yourself. Don't say, nobody likes me, I'm going to eat worms. That's unhealthy, okay? Then you must know your characteristics. And if you know your personality type, it is obviously easier to know your characteristics. And then you must know what motivates you, okay? Shopping does not motivate me. It motivates my wife. It gives her energy. It drains me. It's like being tortured. So you must know what motivates you. Now, how can you improve your self-image? If you're sitting here in class today and you realize, man, my self-image is not what it should be, then there are ways to improve it. So you recognize your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay? Be positive about yourself. You will remember that I said to you that is something that you do through affirmations. Then see criticism as feedback and only take what is useful. Some people are a pain. They're going to criticize you for no particular reason. Okay. Some people are going to give you good feedback. They say it works in the following way. There are people who like you for the wrong reasons. There are people who dislike you for the wrong reasons. There are people who dislike you for the right reasons, and there are people who like you for the right reasons. Okay? The only people whose criticism you must listen to is those who dislike you for the right reasons, because they're the only ones who are actually going to give you the real answers, and that is easier in the workplace. Okay, so put on the hat and wear the hat so that you can do it and you don't feel offended. Surround yourself with positive role models, please. Don't surround yourself with losers. If you surround yourself with losers, you become a loser. It's as simple as that. So then I said to you here, self-aware people work better in teams and they know what they want from the work environment. Okay. Because that's 2 things that you must get from the work environment, else you're not work ready. You must be able to work in teams and you must be able to know what you want from the work environment. So that is with regard to self-knowledge. Now let's have a look at time management. Okay. What is time management? So every time you see a little block under the heading, it means that is the definition. So time management is the way that you organize and plan how long you spend on specific activities. And the idea is to work smarter and not harder. Now, please, while I have developed so many time management tools in my life and I can teach it, it is something that I am still struggling to master. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, this is a lifelong thing, guys. You work on it and you work on it, and then at some point you get to the point where you discover, hey, I'm now able to manage my time well. Okay, the strategy that you use must work for you. And that means that you now need to know the things on which you waste time. So if you know that you go onto the internet and you end up in a rabbit hole, then you need to watch yourself and you say, if I'm searching for something, I will I will go into my main search, and after that, I will go one level down and know nothing more than that. So, because then I'm not going to wake up 2 hours from now and realize that I never looked what I was searching for, looked at what I was searching for, but that I was wasting my time. So, know that, and then use a time log. Okay, so just so that you know what you are spending your time on and what you are wasting your time on. The second thing is that you must prioritize. And in your textbook, there's a bit of plagiarism there because you have this decision matrix in your textbook, but nobody tells you where it came from. It's actually the Eisenhower decision matrix. Really, Dwight, the American president, he came up with this thing, and it is brilliant. He says, when you look at a task, you must say, look at two components. Is it urgent or is it not urgent? That's the first thing. The second thing is it important or is it not important? Because urgency and importance is not the same things. If something is both urgent and important, you do it first, you do it immediately because it's urgent and it's important. If it is urgent, if it is important but it is not urgent, you can do it later. Okay? If it is urgent but it is not that important, you can delegate it. Give it to somebody else to do. And if it is neither important nor urgent, you don't do it. You ignore it. You eliminate it. You cut it out of your life. Okay. Now, what does delegate mean? Delegate means you give the work to somebody else, but in order to do that, you must plan to delegate and you must monitor after you have delegated. Okay. Man, really, I should be better at organizing my life when I teach these things to you guys. Huh? Okay. So, next thing that you can do is you must minimize interruptions. If that means closing the door or putting earplugs in, then you do that. Some of us are more easier distracted than other people. Okay. I get distracted easily. So I actually like to do these lessons with you guys when there's nobody else around. And then I still get these calls because I forgot to put my phone on silent. Yeah. So put your phone on silent. That's another thing that you can do. Then stop procrastinating. Just start. Now you see another little arrow, and the arrow points towards this little block here. So it means, how do we stop procrastinating? Well, I've given you 3 tips there. The first thing is set deadlines, create a schedule. Okay. Second thing is ask a trusted colleague to review your work. Somebody to say to you, Jock, did you do that? You said you were going to do that. Have you done it? Okay. Every time somebody asks me that, I am immediately annoyed, but at the same time, I appreciate that those people are in my life. Yeah. And then the third thing is think of yourself as someone who always meets deadlines. Don't tell yourself, oh, I never make my deadlines, I'm always late. Tell yourself through affirmations that you are someone who always meets deadlines, and then you will begin to meet your deadlines. Okay. And then the last thing is you need to work within the organization's culture. So set a good example or start a culture of timeliness. Okay. So if you work in an organization and there's a 20-minute tea time, but you know that everybody only starts drifting back towards their tables after 30 minutes, then start by walking back to your table after 20 minutes. That's more or less the idea. Okay, so that is with regard to time management. Now we are still busy. Look here. We are still busy with self-management, and now we are on goal setting. Okay, So let's just have a look at goals. What is goals? So when you see something here, the nature of goals, I'm trying to say to you, what is it? So a goal is an aim, a purpose, or an objective. Work goals need to be in line with the company goals. If your work goals is not in line with the company goals, there's a name for it. It's called sabotage. You don't want to do that. Okay. So there are three types of goals, really. Short-term goals, medium goals, and long-term goals. In my mind, a short-term goal is up to 1 year. A medium-term goal is 1 to 3 years, and a long-term goal is 3 to 5 years. If you are working in a huge organization, they might say to you, no, a long-term goal is really anything between 5 and 10 years. And we regard a medium-term goal as 3 to 5 and short-term as anything less than 3 years. That's really up to the organization. But for most small businesses, I would say this is a good time frame to use when we set our short-term, medium, and long-term goals. So why is it important to set goals? Well, the first thing it does is it motivates us. Okay? It improves our self-image. Also help us to find direction, because now we're at least aiming for something. And then very important, we can measure our achievement, and we will now manage our time better because we have set the goals. So if you now look at characteristics of effective goals, they are in writing, they will have a date, they will be made up of small manageable tasks, they are specific and detailed, and they are realistic and possible. Or you can go back to what I said to you in the induction and just use the SMART goals, where S is for specific, which means that it is in writing as well, because then it will be specific. The M is for measurable. Okay. The A is for I think I said it's achievable, but more than achievable, it is actually I forgot what it should be, but it's an activity that is challenging. Really, that's more the idea. So it mustn't be too easy either. And then the R is for realistic, because your goals must be realistic. If you're never going to run. None of us is going to run the 100 meters at the Olympic Games. Okay, it's too late for all of us. So that would be an unrealistic goal. And then the T is once again for time. Okay, so it doesn't matter what acronym you use, or whether you just use the characteristics as it is in your textbook and as it is in this little block. It is fine as long as you understand inherently how a goal should look like. Okay, now what about effective filing, which is the next part of self-management? So first thing, we have to firstly, we have to have a look at what filing is. So filing is the storing of information in a logical and organized way, not so that we can impress other people, but so that it can be found easily. Okay, and hence I've changed the naming convention today so that it's easier for you to find the right information when you are looking for these slides. And what are the elements of filing? Well, you must plan. Okay, don't just start filing. First, plan to file, get a good filing plan. Then organizing. Okay, it's basically now you're starting the work. Then you must keep to the system. Don't now go and change the system. That's why I did the planning. And then you must ensure it's user-friendly, because if it's not user-friendly, you're going to hate it and you're not going to continue to use it. And then basically you've wasted your time. Okay. So when we look at the practical steps, remember we all file and store things differently. That means please leave your colleague's table alone. Okay. If you think their table is in chaos, please don't clean it. That person is going to get very upset when they're looking for something on their table and they can't find it. It must be done consistently and regularly. You must learn to prioritize, which means just put a time aside for filing. It's important that you attend to matters timeously and you must chuck the junk. I cannot emphasize this enough, especially as far as electronic files are concerned. We fall into the trap where we're working on a file, then we create a new version of the file and we forget to add a version number. Please add a version number so that you can chuck out the old versions later. And then that doesn't take up hours of your time like it does for me sometimes. And then make sure that you destroy unnecessary confidential matters correctly. Okay. So you don't want it to get into the wrong hands. So shred what needs to be shred, archive what needs to be archived, and burn what needs to be burned. Okay. There are some things that the world is better off never knowing about. Okay. So don't reduce it to record and burn it if you have. Okay. And very important, filing refers to both manual and electronic information management. It is very important. Okay. Still on filing, let's just have a look between the difference between personal use and file sharing. So personal filing is when you are going to use it only. And then file sharing is when you are going to share those files or you're going to have to share it with other people from time to time. So what do? Personal filing, clear out old and unwanted documents. It is where you start. Okay. Then use convenient and secure storage units. You don't want your files to fall apart. Okay. Stick to the company procedure. Even if it's your personal filing, stick to the company procedure. Adhere to all laws. There are laws that says how long you must file certain things. Use a logical system, and that logical system can be alphabetical or numerical, or you can use a reference number. Any of those things will do. Please label correctly. So label correctly when it's electronic, label correctly just when you file things. Don't overfill your files, especially now if you're doing manual filing. If you're doing electronic filing, don't overfill a folder. Sometimes you have to create a zip folder, especially if you're going to send something electronically, or you will have to create a folder in Dropbox. There's ways that you can share big files, and then use the same filing system for paper and electronic, if at all possible. It's not always possible, but if it's possible, please make sure that you use one filing system. With regard to file sharing, you must still follow the rules that we just talked about now for individual filing. Consider what most find convenient and logical. So maybe it is more logical for you to use a numerical system that is color coded, but it's not logical for other people, and so you might rather use an alphanumerical system. That's fine. Okay. And then please remember that security and confidentiality are vital, which means that you have to record the document users and users. That okay. What I wanted to do is actually put an R. So you are recording document users, but you're also recording document users. Okay. Then you must record changes, and that's why I say please make sure that you add version numbers, distinguished versions. I've actually said it twice there. Then lock original documents so that they can't be edited, deleted, or moved in error. And if it's gonna be an electronic one, then create a password for it. And then once again, see, it started out with clear out old and unwanted document. It ends with clear out old and unwanted documents. It is the most important thing. Okay. Then the last slide before we are going to take a short break is internal controls for accounting records. So accounting records are a specific type of record that must be filed. And so we need to look at this specifically, but really only one slide. So keeping a record of transactions. Okay. Please remember, only valid and legitimate transactions should be recorded. Okay. Well, also, only valid and legitimate transactions should be entered into. Then source documents must be controlled and accounted for. Now, it's actually quite easy. You can just take a picture of the source document and keep the record like that if you need to. There must be a separation of duties to limit fraud. You can't have the same person doing the payment, making the decision, deciding on the tender, all of that. That's when fraud happens. Okay. Transactions must be recorded accurately and they must be classified correctly. So, and how? Well, classified as an asset, liability, and income or an expense, exactly as you do it in bookkeeping. And then all required information must be recorded. All means completeness. So please make sure that you use the correct currency or units and that you indicate whether it's a VAT applicable transaction or not. And then also information must be recorded in the correct accounting